Welcome to Modern Musings, conversations with the maiden, mother, and crone, where we look at ourselves and the world through the lens of the 21st century. Welcome back. I'm your hostess today, Kristen Blakely, and I'm with my co-hosts, Amber Jones and Cindy Murray.
Hello.
Hey.
Today, we are exploring Disney villains and the theme of jealousy. What went wrong? How did we get here, right? So we have some fun discussion today, and I'm looking forward to diving into the theme. Not too long ago, we talked about Dante's level of hell, and kind of looking at what those human conditions were, and lust and gluttony and greed are all kind of in the same category of envy and jealousy, and so it's kind of, I don't know, I feel like we're just kind of branching off from that subject too in a little ways, but we had
really
we had a lot of fun many seasons ago when we did Disney princesses.
Yeah, and what was it? What Disney princess were you?
We took a
whatever?
quiz and we did Disney princesses, and now we're on to dipping into the villains, and specifically the ones that have jealousy as a theme. And I was actually surprised when I started kind of looking at the villains themselves and which ones were driven by jealousy, or what drove them to be a villain. It seemed like a big handful of them were.
Some jealousy in some form or fashion.
Yeah, because it's like a base human nature to be jealous of at least once in your life of something.
Yeah, and actually to say that, it's pretty common. When you think about jealousy, you may be like, well, I'm not jealous of anything right now or whatever.
But you are, honestly, you are.
You are. It's easy to see where you might fit in when you break down different types of jealousy. So I thought I'd start off with that, and then we can dive into the Disney princesses, the victims of jealousy. So different types of jealousy might be romantic, so possessiveness or insecurity.
Right.
Rivalrous jealousy is comparison or competition.
Right. Like with work or something like that. Yeah.
Siblings.
Envious or envy, wanting what someone else wants or has.
Right.
Beauty, fame, gifts, or resenting those who have it.
Right.
And then status based, so recognition, legacy, and validation of, whatever that status might be. So same thing, wanting those who have it, whether it's romantic, rivalry, envy, or, status. So what Disney princesses first come to mind for you guys when, the first one that you thought of, who popped in your head?
My first one was the evil queen from Snow White, because hers was blatant jealousy of Snow White. The mirror, she asked the mirror every day who was the fairest of them all. She wanted to be the fairest. And on the day that the mirror determined that Snow White was the fairest of them all, she was so jealous that she asked the huntsman to kill her so that she could again be the fairest of them all. So hers was the jealousy, envy of Snow White's beauty, because she prized that above everything else.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that one's interesting too, because that also is kind of status based, because she wanted to be the most
beautiful, not just beautiful, but the most beautiful. Yes, so it's envious of what she had, but also that status base. Yes.
I would say mine, first thing that popped into my head when we thought of this was Scar from The Lion King. He had that whole sibling, wrong brother jealousy thing going
Mhm,
on.
mhm.
And it's funny because I don't know if y'all have seen Mufasa,
I have not yet.
but that kind of gives you a different, well, not a different insight, but it gives you more of an insight into why Scar became the way that he
Mhm.
was. So I would say, listeners and y'all, if you have not seen it, you should watch it if you want to know more
Yeah,
about
I
Scar.
haven't seen that one.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Yeah, I'm not going to give any spoilers, but
Mhm.
like, it definitely put it in a new perspective on the sibling rivalry and jealousy and stuff like
Mhm.
that.
Mine, the one that I thought of first was Ursula from The Little Mermaid.
Mm-hmm.
Probably because
That's
that's
another
the legit Disney movie of my
Oh yeah,
age.
yeah.
my generation.
Oh, that's true. Well,
True,
that
yeah.
and Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, that
Mhm.
one too.
Oh,
yeah.
Gaston, yeah.
Yeah, he's definitely on the list of jealous too. And for me, I was thinking of it in terms of her like wanting Ariel's voice. But I think she was more jealous of King Triton than she
Oh,
was
yeah, she
Ariel.
wanted to
And
be the
Ariel was just a
king.
victim of,
Right.
she's what, collateral damage or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she asked
yeah,
for her
she-
voice, but she knew that her voice was something that was prized by
Mhm.
Triton and Ariel.
Yeah, that was like Ariel's most prized possession was her voice.
Right.
So of course she wanted to take her voice, and she pretty much did it just to mess with Triton.
Yeah, yeah. I think the motivations have a lot to do, and I'm glad we're talking about this subject because I know as children we've been raised to watch these movies and just take them at face value. But as you get older, you sometimes see that there's more behind the story, and Disney has gotten a lot better about putting the whys behind the story a little more, especially in some of the live action stories, and some of those things as the newer renditions or whatever. And it's good to see the villains in a different light. And I think what really kind of turned me that direction was watching ABC's Once Upon a Time, which was a Disney product because Disney owns ABC. And
I didn't even think of it that way.
Yeah, but they took all of those characters, the standard fairy tale stories, and they kind of re-scripted them with a backstory and all that stuff. So you have, the evil queen, and you know more about the story of the evil queen, and you know more about the story of, the character's name was Mr. Gold, but he was Rumpelstiltskin in fairy tales. So he was one of the evil characters, and then you find out all these different reasons why these people have the different bad traits that they did. And I really enjoyed looking at them from their humanity,
Mm-hmm.
and seeing that not all evil is as black and white as you think it is.
Mm-hmm.
That there's usually some kind of crucible or something that turns them or starts to turn them to that evil or to the dark side, to quote another Disney product. So there's a lot of things there that I thought, and Kristen was talking about earlier when we were talking before before we started recording. We were talking about the evil queen, and I think Amber had mentioned that there were what were they, sub-villains?
Yeah, they were like sub-villains from
And-
the Disney movies.
Right, and one
stuff.
of them in the Snow White was the Mirror.
Yeah,
And I said, well, the Mirror's not really evil, is he? But
he kind of is.
Well,
He was the product or the thing of the queens.
right, he and Kristen pointed out, well, maybe he's what made the queen evil.
Yeah, he's over there whispering
In her
ideas
ear
in
that
mind.
Yeah.
she's the most beautiful, you're the most beautiful, and then he takes that away by naming someone else as
the
more
most
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so yeah, he is a villain because he puts that in her head that someone else is more beautiful.
And he put it in her head. Maybe he
that
put it
she
in
was
her,
the most beautiful.
that she was the most beautiful. Maybe he was the one who convinced her that she needed to stay the most beautiful. We don't know, but that, in the it goes back to that ABC Once Upon a Time story. That creature that was the mirror actually was a villain. When you said that, I remembered that because he was a villain. He was a love interest, I believe, of that evil queen, and somehow he got banished into the mirror. So it was, a little bit more interesting story than
it's always deeper
what's on the surface.
Than the bad guy in the story always has a motivation,
right?
And that's always been my interest in those villain stories when they do turn the twist story, like Maleficent.
Right.
Oh, yeah, there's like a whole backstory on Maleficent, why she was that way.
And that's probably why you like Mufasa, because it gives you insight into
well,
what
Cruella,
was that turning
too.
point.
There was the Cruella movie
that
gives you the insight on why she was the way she was.
That one too. I don't know. I think like when you see those movies, you get that sympathy for the villains, because now you understand
them as humans.
Yeah. And how easy it was for them,
to fall down that.
I know this isn't Disney, but like Wicked, Elphaba.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That you're really sympathetic to her.
Right.
Aside from watching Wizard of Oz, where you're not sympathetic.
Right.
I just came back from like 2 days ago, a production of The Wiz. So
oh, okay.
That's on my mind.
Yeah. Nice.
So yeah, I agree that that you have to kind of look at it from that story if you want to understand the whole story, and I think that's true of people too. So, I mean, I think this is a great topic to explore a lot further, because even as humans, there's that tendency for jealousy is in all of us.
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely like a workplace jealousy, one of the categories or whatever. I could do like a whole other podcast on workplace jealousy and like production jealousy, and I'm sure Kristen has also come across that being a boss at her work, as far as co-workers and everything like that, and just like a whole other podcast on female jealousy.
Right. That's
and
it's a problem.
Take me back to like high school and
right.
Yeah, like a podcast for the different kinds of jealousy.
Well, I mean, technically, that's kind of what we're doing.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, like, you could like go and
going.
Talk. Yeah, you can take this to, like, we're talking about Disney right now, but you can take this to a completely different level.
Yeah. I agree.
So, and psychological implications.
You mentioned Maleficent, and hers was kind of a workplace jealousy, because if you only take it from the Sleeping Beauty perspective.
Yeah, she wasn't jealous of Sleeping Beauty.
She wasn't jealous of Sleeping Beauty. Sleeping Beauty was what she used to get back at people, because she was jealous of the fairies.
Yeah.
The fairies got invited to the christening or whatever it was, and she was not invited. And so she was jealous of the fairies, and so to punish everyone, she set up that curse.
And if you see the next movie that they made, The Mistress of Evil, I believe it's called, that it even takes that a step further, and you find out that her specific race was being persecuted throughout the land.
Right.
So you definitely can see where she's coming from there on that aspect.
Right. And sometimes, villains are villains not because they've necessarily done something bad, but because people are afraid of them or have caused them pain, and they just react.
They're oftentimes a victim of something else.
Of something else.
And I think that's really where it stems from. If we were to take this into like Eckhart Tolle territory,
which we often do,
right? Let's put it on the table. So when you're looking at it from that perspective, That's really your brain transitioning from I wish I had what they had or have into crossing that line. They don't deserve what they have, right? And that's your ego.
Either they don't deserve it or I'm going to take it so that I have it too.
And that all starts with something that makes you start thinking that way. So you don't even think about I wish I had something until you realize that you don't have it.
Right.
And for it to
lack mindset.
That lack mindset to hit you hard enough to create that trauma narrative that gets stuck, right? Yeah. So that's where, with the ego, it's usually stems to something in like your childhood or something that happens. Like you said, lack mentality, or which it all ends up being lack mentality. The romantic like possessiveness or insecurity is the lack.
Right. You feel you're afraid. Yeah.
The rivalryness, the comparison and competition is the lack. And same thing, status based and envy. You are wanting something that someone else has or that you don't have. And so then taking it to that next step is thinking that other people don't deserve it. That's, your ego reflecting what you see in the world. And then taking it to that next level, like getting lost in that is when they turn into villains, where they take, sabotage, or destroy what others have because they don't have it. Right. And I think that's where Maleficent happened, right? Because she kept going back and like picking on the people that she used to be friends with. Because wasn't she friends with the king or something?
I think so. Yeah, she was friends with him, and I think they were best friends. And then he
something
married
tragic happened.
Yeah, something happened. He married the queen, and so they lost their way from each other.
Right.
And so everything that she does from that point on is to sabotage and destroy what everybody else has that she doesn't have.
Right. Yeah, and that's a common theme, of people of jealousy. I mean, there's some different ways that people act on their jealousy or their envy or whatever. Sometimes they try to destroy what other people have. Sometimes they try to steal or take what other people have. And, it's kind of two different things. But so, like, I think of romantic jealousy. A lot of times there's like women are so insecure that they can't stand the thought of their boyfriend or significant other or whatever talking to another female. They're jealous because they're afraid, they're insecure, they're afraid that he is going to find that other woman more interesting than them.
And that's like an underlying fear, I think, in a lot of relationships, especially new relationships. When you first start dating, there is that underlying fear where, like, especially when you first start to fall in love.
Right.
There's that underlying fear of, like, you could lose this.
Right.
Like, you're in love, you're opening up your heart, you're opening up everything, and then there's that underlying fear of what if it all just goes away?
Right.
What if somebody else shows up,
and they're more,
or if, like, your significant other has, like, a female friend, and you're jealous of that friendship because they've been around longer.
That maybe your boyfriend is closer to this female friend.
Yeah.
And you're just developing that friendship. And there's a lot of women who will try to destroy that relationship so that it doesn't exist and there's no competition. I don't think
it's just women who do that. I think
there's men. I'm just using women as an easy. Well, and I'm using it as
men get really jealous.
Oh, men do.
Their girlfriend has a guy friend.
Yeah, but the reason I said girl was because I was thinking of Amber and her husband Jason's friend Noni.
Yes.
Who who you love.
I love Noni. Noni and I are like, we talk all the time now. Well, when Jason and I first started dating, he had like this female, he had like this female best friend. And I'm like, now what's going on with this?
Yeah.
Men and women aren't always friends, So
Well,
like, what are the motivations behind this? But, then I opened myself up. And I got to know her, and now her and we talk more than her and Jason talk,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
Well, in my experience, and I've had it with male friends, I've had lots of male friends. Some of them were Mark's friends, and I became very, very close to his male friends and had a really close relationship with them, and he was not jealous.
Well, those were his friends first,
right?
What about? Did you have any friends before you met Mark?
I did. I had male friends that I was in college with. We carpooled a lot. We were really good friends, and he was not jealous of them either. So,
well, that's good. I don't think Mark really had a jealous personality, though. Like some people are more prone to jealousy than others.
Well, and there are people who like. And I've been in relationships where if I wasn't accustomed to wearing makeup as often anymore, if I put makeup on, they're like, "Who are you trying to impress?"
Yeah. My dad was that way with my mom. If my mom dressed differently than her normal button down or whatever, my dad would be like, "I don't like that. I don't like you wearing that."
Yeah, I don't want somebody else looking at you.
My ex-husband, I could not have any male friends with my ex-husband.
Right.
Like he would not. And then I had a boyfriend, fiance before that where his name was Tim. I could not have male friends with him either. Both of them were extremely jealous. So by the time I got to Jason, like the only male friends I had were coworkers.
Well, I want to go back to, you talk about your ex and being jealous of male friends. Was he allowed to have female friends? Did he have female friends?
John? Oh, well, yeah. I mean, John had female friends and when I met John, he had like one friend who was a male friend. Like he had alienated all of the friends.
Okay.
That's probably a red flag now back looking at it. But when I met John, he had like one or two friends that he talked to. Nobody else wanted to talk to him. And so the only friends that he ever had were like coworker friends. And some of them were females. And he had one that I was pretty good friends with as well. And, when we got together, and he moved out here to Texas, he started making friends. And he had one friend, named Cassie. And then he had another friend that I can't remember her name. And I was not jealous of those friends at all. Like, I knew one of them personally. Like, her and I weren't really friends, but I knew her and she was so I never restricted him from having friends.
Right. That's why I think it's kind of odd, because often the ones who are the most jealous about having, about their female partner having male friends are the very ones who also have extra relationship friends with someone of the opposite sex. So it's like what's good for the goose is not good for the gander, or whatever. So they don't want you to be involved with anyone else but as a friend, but they can do it. And it's like, and that brings me to that wondering if the reason they are so jealous is because they know how they think. Are they?
That's that ego reflection.
It is.
Well,
I'm jealous of your male friends. If I was John, I'm jealous of your male friends because I know if I had a friend of the opposite sex, I would be attracted to them. Or I would be tempted to have that relationship or whatever.
Well, they see that was the situation like when I met, but I quickly learned that Jason, I guess, doesn't. I mean, he does have really good male friends, but gosh, Noni was just like, she's just like a bro, She's like,
Yeah.
She's like me, like she's cool, like everything like that. But at first I was thinking, well, I've never had a male friend that I wasn't attracted to. So what's going on with that? Well, it turns out that Jason and Noni did have like a dating past or whatever, but then they became friends out of it.
Right.
And that's fine. I never thought ever that, Jason was going to leave me for Noni. And she was quick to like put that out there, when we first started hanging out. Like, yes, Jason and I have a past, but now we're best friends.
That's interesting. Scott's two best friends. We were talking about that
We were
earlier
talking about it
today
in the car. Yeah.
because his two like really close besties, I guess you could say, are both females, and they're both the relationship is more of like a nurturing, like sisterly type friendship, and it is completely possible for people of the opposite sex to have completely platonic friendships.
Absolutely.
I know that was a huge thing, like when I was in my 20s, that people of the opposite sex can't be just be friends.
Yeah, people think that.
People would always say, like, oh, a man and a woman can't be friends. It will always turn romantic. And I think
my best friend in high school was a man, a boy,
Yeah.
Well, he was a boy in high school, but
yeah.
My best friend was a guy in high school. Well, I had a girl best friend also, but I had a guy best friend in high school as well.
And like I say, I don't think it's a problem. But the jealousy, I think that jealousy, though, comes from, it's like the guilty dog barks first kind of thing,
From John's perspective, the jealousy was definitely control.
Because I've talked about also.
I've talked about my ex-husband a lot, and like the fact that I couldn't have any male friends, it was totally a control,
right?
Like a subtle. It wasn't like oh, you can't have male friends. He never like went out and said it. He just went out of his way to, him and Tim before him just went out of their way to alienate all of my male friends to the point where
that's
I had no.
That's possessive.
Yeah, it was about a control. Like they wanted to control the variable where their like biggest jealousy issue was that I would leave them for one of these friends.
Right.
I wonder if that stems from unstable childhood, because all of these things basically stem from something that happened.
Right. Well, and that's why I say,
or
I think part of it comes from, the guilty dog barks first. The reason they think that you might leave them is because they know they might be tempted to leave you. Well, if something better came along.
Look at how my ex-marriage ended.
But, exactly.
It ended with us, like him starting to date other people, wanting to be in a
fluid
poly relationship and starting to date other people. So you're right. Guilty dog barks first.
And I think it's too, not just that guilty dog barks first, because the possessiveness doesn't always have to be because they're afraid of someone cheating, but just cornering someone into the relationship so they don't leave them because they have been
that's
left
that abandonment issue.
The abandonment. That's where I was getting to.
Yeah, there is that also. So
Well, sure. Like in my ex-husband's case, like his parents were split up. His mom, like when they split up, she left the country. Right. His mom like abandoned their whole family. That's the reason the parents split up, is because she just walked out and left, literally moved to Sweden, left the country.
Right.
Yeah, and I want to say, like, my ex-Tim, well, his mom had passed away. So that was, like, a kind of an abandonment as well.
Oh, it is. Yeah, that definitely, I mean, no fault on her own, but that's the way it feels to a child.
Mhm.
Yeah. Is that they
Yeah.
got abandoned. Absolutely.
Yeah,
So-
so yeah, of course, both of those things stemmed from childhood for sure.
Yeah.
What about rivalrous, like comparison and competition? Like, I know that we've talked about this in the past. For example, you did, what was that book? Girl, Wash Your Face.
Yes.
Right? And one of the 10 lies that you tell yourself is like, you're not enough.
Right.
And
Mhm.
Yep.
that narrative that we get stuck in where we're comparing ourselves to other people, I think that one honestly is
Yeah,
probably
the
one of the
comparison was
ones
another
that-
thing. Don't compare yourself.
Yeah.
Lie that you're not comparing yourself
Yeah.
to other people. when
because
you walk into a
honestly,
room.
the envy and the status base, a lot of those stem from comparing yourself to someone else.
Yes. Yeah. And
And
and what is the saying? Comparison is the thief of joy.
yeah.
It really is.
Because if you're always comparing yourself to other people, someone is always going to have more than you have. They're going to have a better life. They're going to have more beauty, more
something
health,
better,
more
than
money,
everybody
more a
else.
bigger house, whatever. And if you're always comparing yourself to them and wanting to be them, or to live the life that they have, then that creates a problem.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I've had that a lot, like especially like say in the workplace,
Mhm.
especially when I first started teaching. I saw how all of these other teachers were and everything like that, and I was very envious because to me it came more natural to other people. In reality, and I admit freely, it took me years to freely admit this, is that I was deluding myself that I wasn't a natural teacher, that I wasn't a good teacher for years and years and years. And this is kind of like PTSD from one of my older jobs, was that I thought that I was a horrible teacher. But I got a message today from one of my students that was from my very first teaching job. And she told me today that I was the best English teacher she ever had.
Aw.
Wow.
And so, I can look back at this now, 15 years later, and say, oh, well, yeah, I was a good teacher back then.
Mm-hmm.
But like at the time, I was too busy comparing myself to other teachers. Like
Right.
their classrooms were more organized than mine. They did this better and it seemed to work better, and then blah, 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 blah. But it was just me in my head
Mm-hmm.
being jealous of something that I didn't need to be jealous of. I just needed to do my own thing.
Right. Right.
Now I'm at the point in my career where I do my own thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a very common jealousy too, because I think a lot of us, I've lived in, worked in workplaces where I saw different people get preferential treatment. Maybe somebody gave them vacation time before, they got considered at the last minute and they could change things or whatever. But whenever you put in your vacation time, you had to wait and wait and wait and wait. I had,
Oh yeah, boss preferential. That's
yeah.
like really
yes,
like
and
a
then,
bad,
like
envious
there's
type
like
thing.
the people you call suck ups or whatever, and they're like, but I lived in or I worked in an office where, some of the people that were in the office were personal friends with the people, with the boss, with the supervisor or whatever. And they would always be hanging around in their office, just chit-chatting. And I'm like, are you getting any work done? And then, if I get behind and don't get one report on time, I'm getting chewed out, and I'm like, I'm kind of jealous of that, but not to the point that I'm going to sabotage their relationship, and not to the point where I'm going to try to worm my way into that personal relationship either. But it still just kind of eats at you, because you're like, why am I not Why doesn't the boss like me?
Yeah.
And I don't know. That happens a lot. I think it happens in all workplaces. There's always that one person who's buddy with the boss or gets special treatment somehow or whatever, and the coworkers kind of look at them and are just like, you know. So I don't know. There's that, or there's, the guy that keeps getting promoted and you never get promoted, you never get looked at. There's that too. So I don't know. Kristen, it's been a long time since I've been in there, but
one of my coworkers is she's one of those people that you looked up to aspire. Mm-hmm. And it's funny too because sometimes we'll be chatting and she'll give me like validation of that same like feedback
right
to me that she looks up to and aspires to me. And I think that is where that competition thing, like if you're isolated from that and you're not getting that positive affirmation or validation, that's where that
comes into
jealousy
trouble.
comes into place. Because if you are always seeing the negative part of the coaching, right? And everyone else is also, maybe you don't never know, like maybe the two people chatting at the water cooler are also getting in trouble, but you don't see that.
Right.
And they're not going to show like, oh, I got in trouble. People don't want to.
Yeah, they're not. If they're doing something bad, they're not going to tell you they're doing something bad. And even your best work friend isn't going to tell you that they got that email from HR saying don't do that anymore.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think that we have to recognize that, right? That you only see your side of this story, or your position in it. And then, don't let the constructive criticism tear you down, because it's not you that's, not performing. I mean, and maybe there was like, hey, make sure you don't fall behind. But also it could be your leader who could be better at presenting that criticism to you.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, it's not you. Don't
that's
take
why
it so personally.
That's why I say the leader was the one at fault in these situations, because they're ragging on one person, but then they're letting the other person hang around at their office and just chit chat about their kid's softball game.
What you may not see in that is that leader is oftentimes like threatened by
that could be as well
their other employees, and that's pretty common too. I think Amber has experienced that in her workplace, where her coworkers may have been threatened by her presence.
Well, yeah,
I think everyone
and sometimes sometimes you are the victim of someone else's jealousy in the workplace, and I've had that as well.
Mirror that behavior too, because you're seeing it from a different perspective, and so then the people bullying you or getting away with the behavior are seen as favorites by the leaders. And then in the same flip side of that coin is you're now becoming envious of them because they're being favorited and you're being
disciplined or whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, like, when we were talking about Maleficent, I think that's where that falls into there, because when you see her backstory and stuff, from other things, you realize that she was targeted. She was a victim as much as she was the villain.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. So that's kind of a,
I mean, I think it's almost safe to say that everybody has somebody who's a little envious of something about somebody.
Right.
So, you may kind of beat yourself up about it if that's something that you feel guilty of being like envious of, your coworkers or your neighbors or whatever. But there's always somebody else who wants your life too.
Right. There is. Yeah. And you may not even know what they're looking at.
Yeah, and some people are so in their head, like you said, you won't even know. Like, some people are so in their head, like, and so down on themselves that they don't think that they could inspire jealousy in other people. And, given, like, things that have happened to me at work or whatever in the past, is that, like, there are things, especially if you're particularly good at a job or good at a certain task, there are things that do inspire jealousy in other people.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother twist to that, is wanting people to be jealous of you.
Well, there is. That is. That's another aspect.
Yeah.
But you mentioned there were 4. So the next one, another one on the list was envy, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So envy, to me, that if you're jealous of that someone's more beautiful, like we mentioned the evil queen, there's Ursula from the Little Mermaid. She is envious of Ariel's voice, and she wants Triton's power. She's jealous of Triton. Entangled, Mother Gothel, is that how you say it? I haven't watched this one, but
I haven't either.
But she wants Rapunzel's magic, the magic in her hair. So, because she wants to preserve her own youth. And, so those are 3 right there. Beauty, talent, power, those things are, and youth, health, whatever you want to call it. Those are 4 things that a lot of people get jealous of. I'm jealous of this skinny girl at work, because she eats whatever she wants and never gains any weight. And it just makes me so mad, because I eat and eat. And sometimes we turn that jealousy. It's jealousy because we're looking at those people who are beautiful or thin or whatever, and we turn that damage onto ourselves. We do that. So even though what we're jealous of is their beauty, we use it to damage ourselves. Maybe not, like you see the beautiful girls in the magazine, and you can't do anything to take away their beauty. You can't do anything to steal that beauty for yourself. I mean, you might try. You might try all these different things, to become more beautiful like the girl in the magazine. But really what you wind up doing is turning that inward on yourself. I hate me because because I'm envious of what they have. And we do that a lot to ourselves. I'm not good enough. I'm not pretty enough.
Why not me?
Why not me?
Can't I have?
There's something wrong with me. I don't deserve to be beautiful because, or whatever. And so I think there's a lot of different ways that kind of envy can go. And really, to me, the most dangerous one is that envy that you turn against yourself because you lack whatever it is that you see.
Right. Oh, man. Yeah, because that is really taking that destruction.
It is. You're taking the destruction to the next level. And we do it all the time. Sometimes we can do it by going overboard with trying to look beautiful, but sometimes we do it by just looking in the mirror and telling ourselves that we're ugly.
Yeah.
I mean, we do that. Or that we don't deserve to have whatever because we're not enough. And that's why one of my things that I think is so important is to have those affirmations that you say to yourself every day, where you remind yourself that you are enough, that you are beautiful, you are smart, you are talented, you are loving, you are kind, whatever words you need to tell yourself, because we tell ourselves the opposite of that so often. And it's because we're, again, that comparison thing. We're comparing ourselves to others. And you see people who are so pretty, but you don't know what goes on in their life. Or maybe you see that girl who's so thin, and you see that she eats everything that she wants to eat, but what you don't see is that in secret she's in the bathroom throwing up, or that she takes diet pills, or that she has to go to the gym.
She's also doing the same, comparing herself and envious of someone else.
Yes.
I mean, especially if, you're secretly in the bathroom, then like there's, something trauma, childhood,
Yeah.
something going on, and like she feels like that she has to be skinny and pretty for
Yeah.
some reason.
For some reason. And
Yeah.
yeah. And there's also the truth that a lot of people miss is that she may be eating so much because she's trying to gain weight. Because there are people who have medical disorders that
Yeah.
cause them to not retain the nutrients that they eat and to not gain weight, and she may be struggling with that, and you're just looking at her with envy that you want to be as skinny as she is, but you also don't see how hard it is for her.
No, she might be looking at you with envy because
You've got beautiful curves.
Yeah, and that she wants that.
Or she might want to wear clothes off the rack at the store, and she can only buy clothes in the children's section because she's so small that everything else is too big, and so she can't find adult clothes. Same thing with people who have like beautiful skin or perfect teeth or beautiful hair. You don't know what trouble they had to go to. Maybe that girl with the perfect smile had braces that cut her mouth open for 10 years of school, and that's why she has those beautiful perfect teeth now, because she had those braces for so long.
Headgear. Yeah.
She had gear, and she got laughed at a lot probably for having all that gear, or people looked at her and made fun of her for being, wire mouth or whatever. And that you don't see that. So, sometimes your jealousy is misplaced.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, we all have that to some extent as well. I think every one of us has something that they look up to physically,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever, in or in abilities or in possessions. Your neighbor has a really cool car and you wish you had that car, or the house down the street got to be remodeled and you wish you could have a remodel.
Mm-hmm.
Or somebody sings really well or can dance and you can't carry a tune in a bucket, and you're jealous of that. And jealousy doesn't have to be taken to that full negative extreme like the Disney villains take it. I mean, just being envious at all is falling into that trap.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
Because, I mean, there are people I know who play guitar beautifully, and I've never really, I could kind of sort of play a long time ago, but I can't do it now. And, I was a little bit jealous, but it's not good. It's not good to be jealous. That's just not one of my talents. And once I figured it out that I was not dedicated enough to it, I didn't start early enough, I don't practice enough, then that's only my fault. And there's no reason to be jealous of somebody who has it, who practices, learned a long time ago, and maybe had that natural talent to start with.
Mm-hmm.
But I have talents that they don't have. I have lots of talents that those people don't have. And the key is to find and utilize those talents.
That's so funny, too, because we were talking about Disney villains, and oftentimes those Disney villains, they're almost all women of power already.
Right.
That are envious of power,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or no need to be insecure, like Gaston. Like, why is he so insecure about Belle, like, not wanting him? There's, like, plenty
All
of
these
other
other
women.
girls.
Yeah, all of the girls
The
want
entire
him.
town wants him. He has the respect of the men and the women.
Right.
But yet, he was insecure. The evil queens in the Disney villains also had some type of status, or they were already very powerful
Right.
evil queens,
and beautiful
at the time that
and
they
beautiful.
were beautiful, and they were powerful. And it's interesting that they didn't use that power for something else, to do something else good,
right?
That would have also given them recognition, like
right.
Most of them, wanted to be the ruler or be recognized, like Scar, for example. He could have, been the lion who went out and did good for the other animals, and became a philanthropist, and then they would have all loved him, and he would have had status, because he is already royalty. And that's the funny thing, it's like, duh, he was already royalty,
right?
But yet he was jealous.
Ursula could have made a pact with Triton, and Triton rules the ocean, or whatever, but she could have been his right-hand woman or whatever.
Yeah.
And, because she was a powerful sorceress
as
well. But she was jealous and wanted his
control.
power.
Yeah. And so, like, when you were talking about, people being envious and internalizing it, it's funny because the Disney villains are out there being villainous to other people, but probably the worst villains of all are the ones that are the secret ones that are internally attacking yourself. And there's probably more of us doing that, doing more damage than one supervillain.
Well, and there are there are also, like you just brought up a point about secret villains. The Disney villains were very in your face. They admitted they were a villain. They were,
they told everyone their secret plan.
Right. I think the only one that I can think of offhand that wasn't was the evil queen from Snow White, and she disguised herself as an old woman in order to sneak the poison apple to Snow White. But all of the other ones are just blatantly, I'm evil and I'm cursing you, or I'm going to do this or whatever. But in real life, those villains, those jealous people, often are not as blatant. The romantic ones are, because there's signs there, but sometimes the work related, the rivalrous ones, or the envious ones, you don't even know that they're envious of you. You don't know that they're working against you sometimes, and so that's kind of a different look at it too. And not only are you hurting yourself by being envious, so you become the villain, you become your own villain.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
But you can also be someone else's villain without overtly.
That is so true, because the things that we say to people inadvertently, passive aggressively.
Yes. That's
those type of things.
Yes, there's a lot of passive aggressive people out there.
Yeah.
They'll, I'm jealous of how successful she is. She asked me to do something for her, and I'll just kind of sit on it and run out of time to do anything.
Or like you see some other car in a parking lot and you race to the front to get that parking spot so they don't get it.
Right.
I mean, that's things that people do all day.
That's aggressive, but
that's what I mean. Yeah.
But there's all kinds of things. Those are all villainous deeds, really. They are. What was the last one? I don't remember what the last
status-based.
Oh, yeah.
And I think, honestly, status-based kind of goes with...
I think that goes with...
the envy one.
It's either envy or rivalry.
Recognition and validation of those things.
Right.
Like,
I think,
being jealous of the beauty queen because she's being recognized as being beautiful. That's just like the evil queen.
Or,
being
it's either the envy of the beauty or it's envy. It's a rivalry, like the runner-up is, the first loser kind of thing. They're jealous of the one who won. And so there's the rivalry, there's the envy. I think that one really should be divided up into two different, or divided up or combined into the other categories. Like, I'm
Well,
trying to
no one
think.
ever said these were official categories.
Oh no,
Yeah.
that's true. This is true. This is true. I think you actually made the list, right? Or
Yeah,
did
I
you make
just
the
came
list?
up with
Okay.
some things that.
You just kind of took the
Point on.
villains and said, "Yeah, that one's that. That one's that." Yeah. So you know, like you think of Jafar from Aladdin. So he wanted to rise in power. He didn't want to be just the royal vizier. He wanted to be in control.
Mhm.
So he was envious of any status or power that, you know, Jasmine's father had. And he was also kind of a rival. So, you know, I don't know. That one's a little harder, and I have a harder time thinking of villains in that category because most of them fit in one of the other categories. I think.
Yeah,
to me.
I think that because recognition and validation is just something from. It is a side effect of having those things.
Right,
Like if
right.
you're beautiful or you see someone who's beautiful and you want to be beautiful, you want to be validated as beautiful.
Validation, yeah.
It's not just like, oh, I feel beautiful, right? Because
Right,
then
right.
you could easily change your mindset and tell
And
yourself that you're
be beautiful, which is what I'm talking about.
But what creates
affirmation.
that is, yeah.
You want that validation,
validation
that
from other
external
people.
validation that you are beautiful.
Mhm.
And yeah, I agree. So that,
Yeah.
So here's some questions for thought, because obviously we've touched on things that have personally impacted us,
right.
you know, and how we have maybe felt jealous of other people. Some questions you could ask yourself is, what is jealousy telling me about my own unlived life or self-worth?
Yeah.
What
'Cause-
is jealousy telling me about my own life or self-worth?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And because it always does. It always does
Mhm.
tell you something. And that's kind of back what Amber was talking about. There's always some kind of maybe a trauma or something that happened in the past that triggers that jealousy or feeds that jealousy. Like I know when there were times that I felt like I was not very beautiful or whatever, or I was envious of someone's beauty, it was because someone made me feel like I was less than beautiful. Does that make sense? So I think that really is what that stems from a lot. Or if I am jealous of someone's possessions, then it's because of things that happened to me in my past where I felt like I didn't have possessions, or the possessions that I felt like I deserved.
Mm-hmm. All right, so here's another one for you.
Okay.
What if I let others' light inspire me instead of intimidate me?
Ooh. So how do you turn that around? That's a good way to refocus and rephrase, reframe, whatever you want to say. So like in romantic jealousy, if you see your husband, boyfriend, whatever, hanging out.
Ooh, I got the answer for this one.
Good. Okay.
So if you see your significant other having friends, remind yourself that they chose you.
Right. Yeah.
That they ultimately chose you.
Right. Now, what was the question that you asked, though?
What if I let others' light inspire me instead of intimidate me?
So how does the light of that other female?
Because if you see that there's conversations to be had, right?
Right.
And they're having conversations, that their light is that they are sociable, right? But they chose you. Of all the people to socialize with, they chose you.
That's true.
As their person to socialize with the most.
And if you see that she's having great conversations with him, then maybe you should be more open and conversive with your significant other.
Right. Let
Right.
that inspire you to
right
connect with your significant other and
in,
let them know
in other ways.
in
yeah.
an uplifting way for both
Right.
of you that,
Well,
oh,
and it's
this makes me feel insecure, but I want to work through it.
right.
And I want to work through it.
And I want to work through
Yeah,
it.
not but.
Yeah.
It's always yes
and there's also that like if you see that he's talking to this person, maybe getting to know that person, let that person's light inspire you. So in Amber's case, she got to know Noni.
Exactly.
She
yes.
looked at Noni's light and she got to know Noni, and she became a fan of Noni herself.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's a big deal right there. What is it about this person that my significant other is drawn to?
Mm-hmm.
And why is that something that is missing in me?
Or similar, not
Or similar.
necessarily missing. Don't
Right.
go in and go with a lack mindset, but think about how you're similar.
That's true also. And be inspired by that person.
Mhm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Same thing if you say maybe you're envious of an athlete, right?
Right.
And their ability, their skill, right? Letting that be an inspiration,
Right.
not a deterrent.
Right.
Right.
Not be jealous of that person, but like if it's someone you know personally, you could go to that person and say, I want
really
to
admire this
I
about
want
you,
to
or-
run as fast as you do.
Mm-hmm.
What can you help me learn to run the way that you do? Or you're really great at the broad jump. Can you show me some techniques that would help me be better at doing the broad jump or whatever? That is a great way
Yeah.
to take that.
Or
and-
like your coworkers, for example, like, hey, I noticed you always manage to get your work done on time and
What
still
is your
have room
secret?
for chit chat. What do you do that makes it so efficient so that you're calm and relaxed at work?
Right. Yeah. So you can always turn those tables a little bit. Don't be jealous. Go figure out what it is that you can learn from that person. Right. I agree. Totally.
So I think that some of the key things to healing jealousy, because it's often that comparison, right?
Right.
It's a trend that, or a habit that you can fall into, like a behavior.
Right.
So it's something you want to heal so that you don't lean on it as a crutch,
Right.
or a natural response.
Your jealousy should not be a reason for your failure or an excuse for your failure.
Oh, good point.
Yeah.
Good point.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're wanting to heal that, some suggestions would be gratitude.
Absolutely.
Identity rooted in something other than beauty or status. So if that's something you're struggling with, is the beauty or
Right.
that status, really getting to know your identity outside of that.
Right.
Because that's not who you are.
Right.
It's just something about you.
It's a feature.
Yes.
One feature.
In the multitude of things that make you different as
Right,
a unique
right.
person. Humility
Right.
and self-awareness and grace.
Okay. Grace for
Alrighty.
yourself and grace for the people who you are jealous of.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Because you
That
don't
too.
want to be thinking to yourself, they don't deserve it. That's not giving grace.
Mm-hmm.
Giving them grace and saying they deserve it just because.
Mm-hmm.
Because of grace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's no because.
There doesn't have to be a reason for them to have that ability or that
beauty
or whatever. That it just is.
Mhm.
Right. Acceptance.
Yep.
Yeah.
Acceptance. I like that. Well, I think those are all really good tools to have in your pocket for just about any reason.
Right.
Regardless.
Even if you don't have jealousy, but as we
Yeah.
mentioned, everybody does.
Well,
But
I know that our topics often take a turn. in whatever direction. And
yeah, you can't judge the episode by the title.
Never. But I did enjoy talking about the Disney's Divas of Darkness, as Amber had called them off.
Yeah,
off topic earlier. I was
Divas
like,
of
Divas
Darkness.
of Darkness. I don't know. Sometimes they're more relatable than we want to think they are.
Well, they are, and maybe that's, like I said, sometimes if we can relate to their humanity, we might learn something a little more about ourselves, in the process. So, and learning about ourselves in the process helps us grow beyond that. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, what are we talking about next week?
Next week, we are talking about hobbies. Now, we've already talked about hobbies, but we're going to talk about new hobbies that we have not tried.
And why?
Yeah.
Okay.
What we want to try.
Or things that we might want to try. So, and what's stopping us, maybe. I don't know. I never know where these are going to go. So, that, as I mentioned, you can't always judge an episode by its title. Sometimes the title is just a jumping off point. We'll have a concept and
free for all
in a free for all. Yeah. So we just kind of go with it. And so that's what I'm kind of thinking here, is that we'll just think about what we might like to try and go from there.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
All right.
Well, we want to thank you for taking the time to listen to our podcast this week. Make sure you come back every week, because we have been consistently bringing you a new podcast every week. And looks like our blogs are starting to pick back up again.
Woo-hoo!
So make sure you check us out on modernmusings.net as well.
Yes.
And we want to thank all of our fans who have reached out. If you have any suggestions or questions or comments, be sure to say a comment on our MMC chat on Facebook or on our blog, or even go in and subscribe or give us a rating on wherever you hear your podcasts.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Like, share, subscribe.
All right.
All right.
Well, until next time.
Bye.
Bye.